All right, Jeff Carroll. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Express Lane. I'm writer, filmmaker, comic book guy, and kind of what I want to talk about today. It kind of got popped off before I got to it, and maybe our conversation that I had that led to this put it out in the universe or not, but I wanted to talk about like Star Wars and representation in science fiction, and Star Wars just became the main thing, but it really is just all of Star Wars. Been talking about this space funk anthology that I happen to have a story in, and wow, it's really exciting. Space funk is the first time a variety of black science fiction writers are writing about space. And as Star Trek says, space is the final frontier. Space is the epitome of science fiction, because anything that happens in space is science fiction. You can get in a fight with your boyfriend, your husband can be cheating on you. If it happens on another planet, it's science fiction, just by the simple fact that it's in space. So we have that coming out, and I have not gotten my copy yet. So I am dying to read all of the different stories. I've been reading Captain America, the anthology that black writers put together of the black Captain America, and those are good, no doubt. I enjoy even that, because now we have just so much to read. But I can't wait for space funk. And why is space funk and space so powerful for black people? Well, it is the pinnacle of science fiction, but it also kind of represents like fear, white fear. When I say white fear, I'm really speaking to the gatekeepers more than the reading audience, more than the viewing audience, or the comic book audience, but the gatekeepers, the publishers, the producers. And one of the things that I said, we were talking about how diversity made it to film, and of course Star Trek, gets their push. They were the ones that had Lieutenant Uhura on Chief of Communications, and she was a part of the bridge, right? And I always called her a space secretary, and that's disrespectful, right? But it's not disrespectful to her. It's disrespectful to Star Trek. But however, it's brutally honest. And can't nobody disagree with that, because who handles your communications? Your secretary, right? And all she did was sit there with an earpiece. She was the space secretary. Now, the character has grown because of the cries and demands for diversity from the greater society, but that's how she started off. Next, we had Star Wars, and this is the controversial comment. And I made it loose lips, right? I'm just running off at the mouth. But what do you call it? What is it? What is it? Star Wars had Landu Calrissian. I'm thinking Luke Cage. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm old. But Star Wars had Landu Calrissian, and I believe he came in the second movie, right? And he was a swindler. He was a ladies' man, per se. And Star Wars, I think, came out in 1977, right, in my opinion, right after the, the blaxploitation era of film. And we were still making some blaxploitation era movies around that time. It didn't die right away. Kind of blended into like, the Wizard of Oz and other black movies that was coming, but it was definitely different than, the movies that we made in the 80s, like House Party and stuff like that. But one of the tropes in the exploitation era was pimps, pimps was real big in the part of the country that a lot of the blaxploitation era films took place. You had Chicago, you had Memphis, you had LA, these areas had a lot of pimps, and it was really big. And for me, I felt that image that Landu Calrissian was portraying was a pimp. He walked around with a cape. I'm pretty sure he had boots. You know what I'm saying? This is before Prince became a national treasure, right? Rick James. There was other elements, but Landu, I felt, came from that. And somebody was like, "Oh, you call Landu Calrissian a space pimp?" And it just clicked, right? And no disrespect to Billy D. Williams. I saw a lady sings the blues, Brian's song, and Bingo Long and the Traveling All Stars, and I get it. He is a top black actor and was a very prominent black actor at the time. So this was, he was one of our A-list dudes. So it was a big acquisition to get Billy D. Williams. But he came in with that ladies' man energy. And to me, it felt like a pimp, right? Because that's what pimps are, the ultimate ladies' man. So that ruffled feathers. Now, and so let me finish. So it ruffled feathers, and with people in the comic book store, it was like, oh wow. And we started asking everybody as they came in, is Landu Calrissian a space pimp? And they was like, yes. So the people, these were black people coming in the comic book store, and they were all saying yes. Some of them hadn't thought of it like that, but they agreed. And my friend that I was debating got more upset. So then I came home and I Googled it, and yes, there's a whole couple articles written on the imagery of Landu Calrissian and him being a pimp. Right, one of them actually says it in the article title, "Pimpish" or something like that. And then there's an action figure with Landu Calrissian and two women from Star Wars. I think one is Leia, but and it says Landu Calrissian pimp, right? And this is before me even saying it. So that's just to say the energy was out there, right? So now fast forward to 2025. Even though my conversation with my peoples was like last week or the week before last, but just this weekend or the end of last week, George Lucas, who's the writer of Star Wars, came out and said that they attacked his universe, the Star Wars universe, for not really being diverse. And in my position on Landu Calrissian, I made an indictment of Star Wars as well, even though Star Wars is my favorite universe between all of the space universes, Star Trek and, Battlestar Galactica, all of the space universes in movies, I like that one the best. However, it's still unrealistic, or it's still a thing, right? So imagine how you write and create your space universe, which I've just finished my space universe. You put out the people that are human in your space universe. However, you looking at Star Wars and Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, these universes are overwhelmingly white. They're whiter than Earth, okay? They're whiter than America. On planet Earth, the demographics are different than they are in America. White people in America make up probably 60%. You got Hispanic, Asian, and African Americans. And African Americans is like 15%. So, and it may be less than that now, because the Hispanic community and the Latino community has really grown, but a lot of them come in as white as well, and so they don't make their own category. Some come in white, some come in black. But globally, it ain't even a contest between India, Africa, in Arabia, that's 9/10 of the Earth's population. South and Central America, you throw those continents in there, and those people are people of color. Now they're historically more colorful in the South Americas, but even now they're still heavily diverse, right? Heavily brown people and people of color. They're not white people. So you take a 10% population into your space universe and make it damn near 100%. What's so bad? We got Landu Calrissian, we got Mace Windu. We're just going to talk about Star Wars for now. And that's it until you get to Finn 14687 or whatever his name is. That's it. That's all you have. You have insects that have a planet. You got fish people that have a planet. You have Chewbacca that are space Bigfoots. They have a planet. Jar Jar Binks, reptile people have a planet, but you don't have a planet for Landu Calrissian. You don't have a planet for Mace Windu. Okay, so they're humanoids. There's a whole bunch of humanoids in Star Wars, and they all got planets. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it is not diverse. It's not diverse. You know what I'm saying? You don't give Lando an origin story or a planet. Come on, y'all. I get it. We can all be from Andor. We can all be from, these, planets. But at the end of the day, damn, they ain't even a village of black people. Maybe they don't see race. But this dude has to have parents. Where's Mace Windu's parents? And I've seen a little bit in the Star Wars clips, and they've done good, but that's very recent. For 30 years or more, Star Wars wasn't diverse, and I think Star Trek was even similar in the fact that Uhura was an African. She wasn't African American, and I get it, no doubt. They put an African on there that was forward thinking. You know what I'm saying? But everybody they encounter throughout the universe, they're white or they are black and weird. And I think they did the Black and Weird show one time, looking at Star Wars, they tried to give Mace Windu an origin story. And in Shatterpoint, he goes back to a planet, I believe, that he was raised on. But it's a jungle planet. And that's damn near as racist as a space pimp. You know what I'm saying? Nothing wrong with the jungle. I don't get, it's beautiful. It's like the forest. However, the jungle and black people together are negative stereotypes. They try to negatively stereotype and limit Africa. You just heard Ronald Reagan coming out saying these African monkeys, these African delegates from the United Nations, they monkeys. Well, the monkeys are in jungles. You know what I'm saying? And monkeys are like step down in the evolutionary scale. So there's a whole lot they say when they put African people and associate them with the jungle, because not all of Africa is a jungle. Our greatest civilization, Kemet, wasn't no jungle. It might have been at the time, wasn't even the jungle all the time. I mean, the times that it was had fallen 2,000 years before Christ, it wasn't a jungle. It may have been a jungle 20,000 years ago, but it wasn't 5,000 years ago. So again, this association with African people and jungles is negative, and that's what they did with Mace Windu. So let me just close out like this. Yeah, it was an interesting conversation. Star Wars has come a long way. Science fiction has come a long way. We still haven't seen a planet of black people. I don't know if they got one in DC. I know Marvel tried to do the Galactic Wakanda, and I think that was good. But that was an outlier, hasn't really made it into cinematic universe, so we don't know if it's canon or not. What else? Books, yeah, we definitely had a variety of Black planets. Not all of them represented well. When Space Funk starts to do its documentary, and I predict Space Funk will win a Hugo for Best Anthology, and we'll all be Hugo Award-winning writers, and that'll grandfather like 20, 30 writers. It might be 50 writers, but at least 20 to 30 of us will get grandfathered in. So that'll be beautiful. I'll also say that some of the fears that they had of the Black pen and what we would write in space, I do not believe any of those fears hold up with the writers from the Space Funk anthology. So let me just say that. We've come a long way, but George Lucas got to own up to it, And I'm even going to talk about Robert Heinlein and this potential remake of Starship Troopers. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, and comment. Jeff Carroll out, Sci-Fi Express Lane. I appreciate you.